I'd always get the questions like, do you ever want to meet your real parents? Do you ever want to go back? Do you know how to speak Chinese? Do you ever wonder if you have siblings or not? I'm freaking out because I think I'm stressed out about this video, and I'm talking about a lot of things that are kind of controversial and just things that sometimes people don't think about, and you want to make sure that you don't portray it in the wrong light. So, and also we got Cheerios and a low bun, so you know things are about to get real. Hi everyone, my name is Kerry and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is something that I've really been looking forward to filming and something that I've been seeing going around on YouTube. Growing up Asian, growing up Asian American. Let's talk about growing up Asian American. Various titles, and I'll leave some of my favorite ones right here and down below. But I also wanted to use this time, as May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. I really wanted to film this and get it out because it is timely, and also include what it's like to be adopted. I think that there's a lot of amazing Asian American YouTubers, way more than I ever saw growing up. I remember watching Close Encounters, Jen M, and Michelle Pham, and those were like the only two, and even then, you know, they weren't as dark as me. They had Asian parents, and I loved watching their videos, don't get me wrong, but I think it is important to share adoptee stories because there is a lot that comes with it. So I think there are questions that Asian Americans are asked all the time, you know, like, where are you really from? Oh, say something in Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and you're just like, or they like yell ni hao to you and you're just like, please stop. But I am also here to probe and answer questions based on my experience of people frequently asking, do you ever want to meet your real parents? Oh, like, what time were you born, Kerry? I don't know, because I don't know my real birthday. So this video goes in chronological order of my life, just to give context as to how young I was and the challenges that I was facing, because I think that when you are adopted, when you're much younger, you don't really think about, you know, what people say as much, or you don't realize how much it affects you until you're older. I also interviewed my friends in my adoption group, and the adoption group is basically just a group of girls who were also adopted from the same part of China and live in the same geographical area as me right now. Obviously, some have moved around, but it's been amazing that we can still stay in touch. So there'll be clips from them throughout this video because I wanted to get their perspective and see what it was like for them also, because obviously not everyone's experiences are the same. So let me begin by saying that being Asian American has its own complex feelings, and then being adopted has difficult challenges, and I'm still definitely processing how I feel about a lot of things. I also don't want it to come across that if you don't check these boxes or you don't feel the same way that I do or how my friends in my adoption group feel, then that invalidates your feelings, because it absolutely does not. Everyone has different experiences and ways of processing. With that, this video was very personal and vulnerable to film, so I hope you will enjoy. And if you do, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into the video. So I'm just gonna begin with some background information. Basically, I was adopted from China when I was 14 months old, and the reason why I was adopted mostly was because of the one-child policy. Insert TikTok right here.
It all started when my mom met my dad. I don't know if they were in love, but then they had me. Then China had a one-child policy and they wanted a boy, so they didn't want me. Then I was left on the street and put up for adoption. Then 2 white people from America came and adopted me. Then 2 years later, we went back and adopted my younger sister. Hi, I'm Eleanor, and my life, it's kind of crazy.
Also, when my parents went to adopt me, they said that the local people living in the village called us, when we were babies, they called us lucky babies. My mom said that the translator made that very clear wherever they went. When they were holding the babies, they saw these white people with these Asian babies, they called them lucky. Because I was adopted when I was 14 months old, the only thing that I remember has been American influenced. Besides my godmother, who is Japanese, she would make me kanji, she would make me authentic Asian dishes growing up, because my stomach at that time could not handle like McDonald's or Burger King. My parents told me that the night that they got me in the hotel room, they got McDonald's, and I threw up from eating French fries because I wasn't used to the grease. So when they came back, they realized that Bonnie, my godmother, knew how to cook dishes like that, and it was really comforting to have her in my life. Also, being adopted was never really in question because my parents would read me childhood books that had to do with adoption, like a fox would adopt a chicken, and it would all be good. So Cody, you want my milk? So elementary school was confusing, as it is for any kid, but I think it was also because I was in a predominantly white suburban area, and I only had one other Asian friend, and she was Indonesian, so she didn't really look like me. But nonetheless, I could definitely tell that my white friends would get whatever they wanted, and for some reason I could just tell that teachers would treat them differently, and I think that teachers would have like microaggressions to me, like about being good at math or like expecting things from me. And I can't pinpoint any specific examples, but I really do remember feeling a little bit clouded at that time and not really understanding what it meant to have a different skin color or maybe have smaller eyes than everyone else. And I know that's not very helpful, but I think that when you're little as a kid, you don't think that much into things like that, and you may not realize how much of a lasting impact they have on you. When I saw, I think, Jazzy talk about this, I was like, yes, girl, like, oh my God. When you're little, you want to wake up white so badly. Like, I subconsciously definitely did, and for the longest time I thought that I was white. Like, I thought that I should be treated like I had white skin, blonde hair, like I have these white parents, my white brother. Point is that I would wake up and want to be white, which is so messed up. And this is embarrassing to say, probably like 7 years old, I was like, oh, I have blonde hair, like my parents are white, I have a white brother, like why am I being treated differently? Like, why do people expect me to be good at these things like XYZ, you know, the classic like Asian stereotypes? And I did not understand why it mattered so much if I was different, you know what I mean? Like, obviously I looked in the mirror and I was like, okay, I don't really like look like my parents, but I didn't understand the concept of race, which really does any like 6-7 year old. I don't know. For so long when I was little, I did not want to resemble any Asian elements in my life. Like, I wanted to have big eyes, I wanted to have curly hair, I wanted to be the exact opposite of what I was, which is so messed up and crazy to think about that I wanted that. I think it was also because London Tipton on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, we love Brenda's song, we do, but I think it was because her character was portrayed as dumb, she was rich, she didn't really have to think for herself, and she was still well liked, like she was still popular and whatever. But it's what you do when the only person that you see on TV that kind of looks like you, and even then doesn't really, is that. So I feel awkward now. Again, I don't want to offend anyone. This is just my personal experience. So we're gonna go on to still elementary school because there's a lot packed in. In elementary school for Chinese New Year, my mom would bring in clementines and traditional Chinese New Year decorations. And you know when you're young and it's your birthday and you get to go out and like deliver cupcakes or whatever to teachers and other friends in different classes? That's what I did, but twice a year. Once for my birthday and then once for Chinese New Year, so I loved it. I really enjoyed this because I got out of the classroom, number one, but also I could definitely see my mom trying to integrate Chinese culture into my life, which I appreciated. Because like I said, adoption was not in question. And yeah, like I said, I didn't have a concept of what I really looked like, but I knew that I was adopted, but I didn't match up, like, I didn't match up being adopted to not looking like my parents. This is so hard to talk about, oh my God. I didn't put together that like being adopted with my white parents who looked like my other friends' parents and everything. I understand why me being adopted from a different country would result in other people expecting me to have habits from somebody who grew up in China. I don't think that that's really a crazy thought. I don't know if that made sense. I hope it did. We're just gonna go on to the next point. So kids are really curious, and I'd always get the questions like, do you ever want to meet your real parent or your biological parents? Do you ever want to go back? Do you know how to speak Chinese? Do you ever wonder if you have siblings or not? These are all valid questions. I would say it's just because of how frequently I got them that when I grew up, I was just like, oh my God, like please stop asking me these questions. To acknowledge the first point, and I don't want to get too dark, but this is gonna get a little dark. Does anyone know how impossible it is to find 2 people that are A, still alive, or 2, both know about the pregnancy, or 3, there's just 1.4 billion people in China? I guess personally I was just really off-putted by this question because it felt like people didn't see my parents, my white parents, as my real parents when I did. And that's kind of all that matters. And I know that some adoptees have found their birth parents and want to, and that's great. And I know that there's a bunch of technology like 23andMe and Ancestry that you can go and find these people, or at least siblings or cousins, and that's great. Also, at the same time, I had to think what that would do to my parents. I think that they genuinely would have supported me if I wanted to find my birth parents, but it's not like they wouldn't be hurt. And I don't think that I would want to put myself through that hurt or hurt them. I know that obviously everyone's parents are different, but I think that when you go looking for your biological parent, at least in China, you have to be prepared for kind of more dark, morbid thoughts. And I'm not saying that that's for every person, but I think that you don't want to go in there and have these ideas of what your parents were like and then have that come crushing down. Like, not to be dramatic, but I don't think it's all roses and rainbows. And I think, at least personally for me, it's not like something that I want to explore. And I guess like going through that process for me is just too much, and I'm happy with the life I live now. I'm grateful, and I don't know. I watched an adoption documentary that my one friend posted, and I will link it down below, but it was really interesting to see, and it was kind of the first thing that I've seen about like adoption and, you know, the effects of the one-child policy on other people other than me or people in my adoption group. So I will definitely link that down below.
Signs to like change the readings every time to like see which one fits, and they're like, your parents don't know what time you were born. I was like, nobody does.
I feel the same like Naomi, how you said like when you get to the birthdays, I'm just like, this probably isn't even my real birthday, so why am I celebrating my birthday right now? I just think about like the weeks going on, I'm like, this could be my birthday or this could, so that gets me the most because I don't know when it is.
Another conversation that's kind of hard to play into as a kid is, oh, what time were you born? Like, I was born at 11:58 and 3/4 of a second, and I'm just like, I don't actually know when my real birthday is. So as adoptees, the orphanage will typically estimate when you are born, but you won't actually know your real birthday, and definitely not the time that you were born. That's just something that's like funny to me now, and I think that as a kid I felt ostracized. I felt really left out by that, but I think that was just because I wanted to be like, oh yeah, like I know, like I was born at this time. I don't know about other people watching this video, but I think it's definitely weird not to know that the birthday on your birth certificate is not technically your birthday. Like, it could be off by a couple days or max maybe a week, but obviously the month and everything are for the most part correct. But yeah, you could be celebrating your birthday on the totally wrong day and you wouldn't know. I remember growing up, I would ask my dad like if he thought that my biological mom was thinking about me around April 11th, and he said, oh, she probably thinks about you all the time, and especially during that day. I think that got me down into a rabbit hole of what ifs, and I started to like paint a picture of what she was like. And even still to this day, I don't get as emo, but I definitely get a little weird during my birthday, at least like a week before leading up to it, because there's no way that you're gonna stop thinking about your biological parents, and I definitely don't think of them as frequently as I did when I was growing up, but you still kind of wonder what your life would be like and how crazy your life worked out the way that it did, especially around your birthday. I feel like adoption is a lot about coming to terms with the unknown, and that sounds so dramatic, and I'm not here to like be like, oh, like play the violin for the adoption kids, but I'm just like, I feel like there has not been a voice in the adoption community as much as I thought there would be, or like growing up it wasn't like there was a lot of people to look up to who were adopted. So just know that it's okay to feel weird for 5 days out of the 365-day calendar for your birthday if you're adopted. This is so long. Oh my gosh. Refloof up this thing.